daughter informed me that she didn't want me at her wedding because her family felt I didn't appear wealthy enough, so I happily stayed away. However, they were unaware that I was the one who secured the venue for them, so I sent a letter delivering this unfortunate news instead. Hello, Reddit. This is my first time posting here since I need some help, and it's a bit urgent. This matter is too personal to share with my friends, so I'm posting it here. I have been a single father to my daughter and have raised her on my own since she was born. My wife unfortunately passed away while I was pregnant with her. She had an aneurysm in her sleep, and by the time I woke up, she was gone. Since then, I have raised my daughter on my own and have honestly sacrificed a lot, something that other single parents can also attest to. I'm not saying that she owes anything to me because I'm her father, but a little appreciation would be nice. Unfortunately, she ended up telling me that she did not want me to attend her wedding a couple of days ago because apparently, according to her fiancé and his family, I did not look like I was rich enough to fit in with the kind of people that would be present there. That was incredibly hurtful. So I did something really underhanded as well. That's really not in my nature, but I just couldn't help myself. All of this started 2 years ago when she first started dating Steve. She met him through friends from what I know, and he belongs to quite a wealthy family. His parents own one of the top real estate firms in the state, and they're pretty much rolling in money. He looks the part as well, always dressed in luxury brands from head to toe, and he owns 3 cars himself. In comparison, I obviously look like a peasant since I'm just an economics professor in college. I do make a decent amount of money, and it has been good enough for me and my daughter. That's how I've been able to pay all the bills and the rent and afford to be able to raise her single-handedly for the past 25 years at least. It used to be good enough for us until she started dating Steve, and then things started changing and getting weird between us. Just for the record, I never had a problem with her relationship with Steve or him as a person until recently. Even though after the first time we met, my daughter called me up later on to tell me that I needed to start changing certain things about my house so that it looked better. She had said that the fact that most of the furniture in my house looked really old was pretty embarrassing for her since she had been to Steve's parents' mansion, and it was crazy how beautiful and shiny everything was. She wanted me to at least put an effort into making my home look better. We had a fight after the first meeting because I did not think that there was anything wrong with the way my house looked. The fact that certain things were really old just meant that they had character. I did not want a shiny, glamorous lifestyle like Steve or his parents because I knew that I could not afford it and I wanted to live within my means. I was perfectly happy with how my life was and did not have any complaints, so she had no reason to be complaining about it either. Some of the things that she wanted me to replace, like some furniture and stuff, had actually been picked out by my late wife, and I really valued them. We got into a fight back then, and I told her that if she was so embarrassed of me, then maybe she shouldn't have introduced me to her rich boyfriend in the first place. She realized that she was being a jerk and apologized to me later, and we were able to patch things up. But after that, she never brought Steve over to my place, and I only met him a handful of times. I met his parents once when they got engaged, and I attended the party that they threw. Even then, my daughter had a lot to say about the way that I was dressed, and she said that it was an engagement party, so I should have put more effort into how I dressed. But according to me, I was dressed perfectly fine, and not stupid. I could tell that her real problem was the fact that I was not dressed in luxury brands and was just wearing things that I could afford. But I guess she was too afraid to say it anyway. I try not to mind that. And even though she had started being very distant from me ever since she had introduced Steve to me, I still tried to keep in touch with her. But then 3 days ago, she visited me and told me that after Steve and his parents had met me at the engagement party, they did not think that I would fit in with the crowd that would be present at their wedding, since it would be mostly their friends and other business associates who worked with his parents, but none of her family members. Since Steve's parents were funding most of it, she thought that it would be better for her to respect their wishes. She even said that she would have a private ceremony later on, and I would be invited to that. But for now, she just wanted me to understand where she was coming from, because ultimately she did not want me to feel out of place. I was very hurt when she said that, and I started crying. But then she got really exasperated and said that there was nothing worth crying over. This was just a fact that I did not look rich enough to fit in there, and she did not want me to embarrass either myself or her. She told me that she had hoped that I would understand, but I was just being selfish by not caring about her image in front of her in-laws. Once I stopped crying, I told her to get out of my house and never come back. After days of thinking about what to do after that devastating conversation with my daughter, I realized it was time to act. I had already sacrificed my entire life for her, and the least I deserved was respect. However, the fact that my appearance or lifestyle was enough for her to discard me without a second thought made me question everything. It was clear that she no longer saw value in the father who raised her alone, but instead in the image she could project to her new wealthy in-laws. I had secured their wedding venue through an old acquaintance as a surprise gift. I wanted to see my daughter happy and knew that place would be perfect for her dream wedding. But now I realized that was a mistake. It was time to correct it. I wrote a short, direct letter to the venue manager, canceling the reservation. I used firm words, explaining that due to family reasons, the event could no longer take place there. I also requested that he not mention the reason to anyone except me. This would leave my daughter and her fiancé in a difficult position, especially given how last minute it was to find another luxurious venue. After all, the wedding was just weeks away. Days passed until one day, I got a frantic phone call. It was my daughter. She didn't start with a "hi" or "how are you?" She got straight to the point. "Dad, what did you do?" "The wedding venue got canceled. Steve is furious, his parents are panicking, and now we have nowhere to go. Do you have any idea what this means?" Her voice was a mix of anger and panic, and I could almost picture her red face on the other end of the line. "Oh, now you call me Dad?" I replied calmly. "I thought I wasn't good enough to be at the wedding, but apparently I'm good enough to fix your problems when things go wrong. This isn't a joke," she yelled, sounding on the verge of a breakdown. "You have to fix this. They're pressuring me. If we don't have this wedding as planned, Steve might even call everything off. His parents will think I'm a failure. You don't understand what's at stake here." "No, dear," I interrupted, still calm. "You don't understand. I spent 25 years of my life putting you first. I dealt with all the hardships of being a single father, gave you everything I could, made sacrifices you'll never see. And what do I get in return? The humiliation of being excluded from the most important moment of your life because I don't look rich enough for you and your fiancé? No, that's not going to happen." She started to cry, but this time, her tears didn't move me. Something inside me had changed. "But Dad, I didn't want it to come to this. I was just trying to balance things, make everyone happy. It's not just about you, it's about what they think of me. And what do you think of me?" I interrupted again. "Don't I matter anymore? You'd rather please a family you barely know than value the one who has been by your side your whole life? I refuse to be treated like garbage. You made the choice to exclude me. Now live with the consequences." She was silent. The crying had stopped, but I knew she was thinking about everything I said. "Dad, please. I know I messed up." She started begging, but I was already resolved. "It's time for you to face reality, daughter. I'm not going to fix this for you. You'll have to learn to deal with the consequences of your choices." I hung up the phone, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was in control of my own life again. She wanted so badly to distance herself from me to please a wealthy, elitist family. Then she could stay with them. She was going to have to weather the storm she created. The following weeks were absolute chaos. I heard through mutual acquaintances that the wedding, which was supposed to be the event of the year, was a disaster. They couldn't find another luxury venue in time and ended up having a simple, rushed ceremony, far below the standards Steve's parents had envisioned. The humiliation they tried to impose on me came back to them in a way I could have never planned. My daughter tried calling me several times after that day, but I didn't answer. I needed space. I deserved peace. Even with the wedding disaster, she had chosen that path. She chose to please people who didn't truly know her, rather than value the one who had always been there for her. A few months later, I received a message. It was a photo of my daughter and Steve, accompanied by a brief note. "We're getting divorced." There was no emotion in the words, just a cold report. It seemed that everything she had sacrificed in the name of social status and a glamorous life had crumbled. I didn't feel joy when I saw that, but I didn't feel sadness either. She had made her choices, and now she was paying for them. As for me, I started reconnecting with old friends, traveling, rediscovering life beyond the role of being a father. As for my daughter, I don't know what the future holds for her. Maybe one day she'll understand that value isn't measured by appearance or wealth. But until then, I have my own life to take care of. After months of no contact, the peace I so desperately needed had finally started to fill the spaces in my life. The loneliness that haunted me at first had gradually been replaced by a sense of control. For the first time in a long while, I was prioritizing myself. I traveled, reconnected with old friends, and dove into new professional projects. My home, which once embarrassed my daughter, had now become a sanctuary where I could reflect on everything that had happened. Then, one quiet morning, I heard the unexpected sound of the doorbell. When I opened the door, there she was, my daughter. Her face was marked by tears, which she was clearly trying to hold back. She looked so different from the woman I had thrown out of my house months ago. The silence between us was heavy. I could see the nervousness in her eyes. "Dad, can I come in?" she asked, her voice weak and shaky. I observed her for a moment, battling the lingering hurt. A part of me wanted to send her away, but another part, the one that would always be a father, decided that maybe it was time to hear her out. I stepped aside, making room for her to enter. She sat down on the couch that my late wife and I had picked out years ago, and for a moment, the weight of nostalgia felt overwhelming. I sat across from her, saying nothing, waiting for her to begin. "I've divorced Steve," she finally said, her eyes fixed on the floor. I already knew that, of course, but hearing those words come from her made it all the more real. She took a deep breath, as if trying to gather the courage to continue. I realized I made a huge mistake. Her voice trembled, full of regret. I let money, status, and other people's opinions control who I was. I did horrible things, especially to you. The way I treated you, I don't even know how I could have been so blind, Dad. She finally looked up, her eyes red from crying. When Steve left me, when everything fell apart, I realized that what truly mattered wasn't how I dressed or how much money I had, but who was there for me. And no one has ever been there for me more than you. I stayed silent, letting her words flow. She needed to say it all, and I needed to hear it. "I don't expect you to forgive me right away," she continued, "but I'm here because I want to apologize. I want to tell you that I regret everything. You've always been there for me, and I treated you like a stranger. I was ungrateful. I didn't know how to appreciate the man who sacrificed so much for me. Dad, please forgive me. I need you now. I need you to teach me how to be strong, to be independent, to not rely on anyone but myself. I want to learn how to make money on my own, to become someone you can be proud of, not for my wealth, but for the person I can become." I saw the sincerity in her words. She wasn't trying to fix things for superficial reasons. She was genuine, and that touched something deep inside me. The hurt was still there, alive, but my love for her, the same love that made me raise her alone all these years, was stronger. "I forgive you," I said after a long pause. She sighed, as if a mountain had been lifted off her shoulders. "But know that forgiveness doesn't erase the pain you caused. We'll have to work on that. Now, as for teaching you about money, business, and independence, I can do that. But you have to be ready to learn that life is more than wealth and status. It's about doing things with integrity and knowing how to value the people who stand by your side, no matter the situation." She nodded, her eyes shining with gratitude. Over the next few weeks, we started reconnecting, slowly rebuilding the relationship she had nearly destroyed. I taught her everything I knew about finances, investments, and business. I showed her how to manage money smartly, live within her means, and, most importantly, how to build a solid and stable life without depending on others. She followed my advice, and soon she opened her own small business. It wasn't anything grand at first, but it was hers, and she built it with dedication and humility. I could see she was changing, finally letting go of the illusion that money and status were everything. Today, things are better than I could have imagined. My daughter and I have reconnected, and now she not only respects me as her father, but also as her mentor. She realized that true friends are your parents, the ones who support you even when the rest of the world turns its back on you. "Thank you, Dad," she said one day with a genuine smile. "If I've learned anything, it's that money comes and goes, but family is what really matters. And I'll never forget that again." Seeing my daughter grow, not just as a person but also as a professional, was the greatest reward I could have asked for. She finally understood that it's not money that defines who we are, but strength of character, and I couldn't be more proud. After teaching my daughter everything I could and watching her grow both as a person and a professional, I knew it was time to let her follow her own path. It was her time to shine. Over time, she truly became a self-made woman, independent, and most importantly, no longer seeking to impress anyone. She built her own business from the ground up, something she could be proud of, free from the need to rely on others or the pressure to conform to others' expectations. Months turned into years, and I watched from a distance as she embarked on her journey of maturity. My daughter not only achieved financial independence, but also emotional strength. She stopped trying to please people who didn't matter and began to focus on what truly made sense in her life, her own happiness and fulfillment. Then, one day, she came to my house looking a bit nervous but with a different light in her eyes. It was the kind of happiness that comes when you truly find peace within yourself. She told me she was in a serious relationship. At first, I was cautious, remembering everything that happened with Steve, but she quickly reassured me. This time, it was different. "Dad, I want to introduce you to someone," she said, smiling. "His name is Marcos. He's successful, but more importantly, he's a good person. And his family, they're amazing. They're humble, respectful, and from the beginning, they've only wanted to support me. They don't care about status. They care about who I am as a person." When I finally met Marcos, I was impressed. He was indeed successful, but what struck me most was his humility and kindness. Unlike her ex, Marcos didn't feel the need to flaunt his wealth or status. He valued simple things and, most importantly, my daughter's happiness. When I met his parents, I felt the same. They were warm, genuine, and down-to-earth people without any pretensions or judgments. They added so much to my daughter's life in ways I couldn't have imagined. At last, she had found the balance she had always sought, and I couldn't have been happier for her. Seeing my daughter smile again, truly and deeply, was the best gift I could have received. The weight that had once burdened her was gone. She was now a strong, independent woman in a relationship with someone who truly loved and respected her. Someone who came from a family that treated her with the kindness and respect she had always deserved. Today, I continue on my own path with a sense of fulfillment. I couldn't be prouder of the woman my daughter has become. A true father doesn't seek revenge on his own child, no matter how painful the journey may have been. What a real father wants is growth. To see his daughter learn from her mistakes and become a better person. I let her go, and watching her blossom, I know I did the right thing. There is no greater joy than seeing your daughter happy and at peace with life. She has learned that what matters isn't what others think, but how she feels about herself. And that, to me, is the greatest victory. Now, I look to the future with peace of mind, knowing I've done my job and that my daughter is prepared to face the world on her own.